All right, so here is the second or last part of your quiz. This is the chord length stuff. When you get into the chord length stuff, there's basically two rules. One of them is if the chords intersect inside the circle, then part times part of one of them equals part times part of the other one. And so on this one, you're going to do 5 times x equals 4 times 3, and you get 5x equals 12. And when you solve, you get 2.4 by dividing both sides by 5. Now on the rest of these, when the chords, or they're not really chords anymore, when the segments intersect outside the circle, this is when it's the outer part times the whole thing on one of them, like on this one, equals the outer part times the whole thing on the other one. So like on number 32, the outer part times the whole thing for the 9 is the 9 times the 9. The outer part of the segment, in other words, the part outside the circle, is 9. The whole segment is also 9. So it's 9 times 9 is 81. And then on this segment, its outer part is 8 times the whole segment, which is 8 plus x. So then I get to do distributive property. And I get 81 equals 64 plus 8x. Subtract 64 from both sides and divide by 8. And you get 2.1. All right, let's do number 34 next because it's more of kind of a normal one. Outer part times whole thing on this segment. Outer part is 18. Whole thing is 18 plus 20, which is 38. So that's where this number came from. I did 18 times 38. Outer part times the whole thing. Over here, I have outer part, which is 15, times the whole thing, which is 15 plus x. That's the whole long segment. So here I'm going to do distributive property on the left, 15 times 15, 15 times x. And I didn't really show my work very well. 15 times 15 is 225. So I went ahead and invisibly subtracted 225 from both sides. So that takes 684 minus 225, leaves me with 459. And the 225 has been subtracted from this side, so it's gone, which leaves me with 15x, and then I divide both sides by 15, and I get my answer. This one's a little different, number 33, because x is the whole thing, so you don't have to add to get the whole thing. Its outer part is 5 times the whole thing, which is x. So that's why it's 5 times x. And outer part over here is 6 times the whole thing, which is 6 plus 4. So that's why that's 10. 6 times 10 is 60. 6 times the whole thing is 10. So 5 times x equals 6 times 10. And that's 5x equals 60, and that's 12. All right, then here we go with basic, well, not with basic. We've got some basic circumference and area stuff here, but we also have, this is all sector area and arc length down here. So first off, circumference. The formula for circumference is 2 pi r, or pi times d. This is the diameter, so pi times d is just 20 pi. I don't think anybody missed that one. Oh, okay. Maybe somebody did. Okay, so 20 times pi is there. And then to change it to a decimal, and I think most of you did this just fine. I just wanted to make sure you knew how to change it to a decimal, because like on the EOC, if the answer choice is not written the way you like it, you need to know how to go back and forth. And on the calculator, you could just do that. Those little arrows are the button right above enter.
Okay.
Okay, so that's how I got this. Question on that one?
Okay, so if we have a question like this on the test, if it just says circumference, it's circumference of the circle.
Of the whole thing, exactly. That's what you're being asked to find. Okay. Number 36. Circumference of the circle is what we're being asked to find again, but this time we don't have the radius or the diameter. We know a piece of the circle. The way I set this up was I said 15, which is the arc length from A to B. 15 is a piece of the circle. The whole circumference is 2 pi r. 15 over 2 pi r excuse me, equals 60 out of 360. So this is like a piece of the circumference, and this is a piece of the degrees, the 360 degrees. 60 out of 360 equals 15 out of circumference. Since the whole circumference is what we're looking for, not just the radius, that whole thing can be my x. So 15 over x equals 60 over 360. And then you cross multiply and solve. An even faster way of doing it on this one is the fact that 60 goes into 366 times. So if this piece is going to be repeated 6 times, you just do 6 times 15 and you get 90. So that's the quickest way to do this one. So 90 inches. And I know I have warned you that I'm not the best with units, but that's what it would be if we were being picky. All right, here's another arc length one. This one, it's actually asking for the arc length. So I'm going to do 45 out of 360 equals my arc length out of 2 times pi times r, which is 2 times pi times 12, which you see right here. That's 24 pi. Okay, so you're going to cross multiply and solve, and you get 3 pi as your answer. I actually did it sort of a shortcut way. 45 goes into 360 8 times. Okay, so if I know the whole circumference is 24 pi divided by 8 gives me 3 pi. So that's one piece. All right, area of the circle, that's just the area of the whole circle, so pi r squared. So pi times 2 squared, which is 4 pi.
How did I get this wrong? I got 620.
I'm sorry.
Caroline, I didn't even know how to answer that, so.
Y'all just put her name on video.
It's okay.
Okay. You're famous. Okay. Area of the whole circle. Okay, this time, this is giving me just the area of this portion. So remember, it's all proportional. If this is 100 degrees out of 360, then that's 17.56 out of the area of the whole circle. Instead of putting pi r squared, I did that again. Since I want the whole thing, I don't have to break it down into r. I want the entire area. So if I want the entire area, I'm just going to let that be my variable. And then I cross multiply 100a equals whatever you get with this, and then divide by 100, and you get 62.86. Okay, last but not least, area of the sector. So this time I'm going to do 30 out of 360 equals the area of the sector out of the total area of the whole circle, which is pi times 1.5 squared, which 1.5 squared is 2.25. So when I cross multiply here, I'm cross multiplying. I've got 360x equals 30 times 2.25 pi. And then to get x alone, I have to divide everything by 360. Okay, I'm going to do this in my calculator all at once. And I get 30 times 2.25 pi, all divided by 360. And notice I pressed enter and did a new line, divide by 360. This is the decimal version. And I changed that to, I did something wrong here because I'm not getting the same answer. What did I do? 30, oh, I bet I know. Probably error, it was probably, no? That's what, I divided by 30 instead of dividing by 360. So let's do that again. 30, clear. I don't know why it does this sometimes. I'm confused. I'm turning it off. There we go. Okay, 30 times 2.25 pi gives me this. Then I'm dividing that by 360, not by 30. That's what I get. Okay, that's the decimal answer. And that little button above enter will change this to a simplified radical form. Simplified radical form does not have decimals in it. It just has fractions. So that's why your simplified, and I said radical, excuse me, it's exact form, really. Simplified pi form with pi instead of with a decimal. Should be 3 pi over 16.